So good morning, everyone. My name is Vibha Bhatia, and I represent AgroVision Foundation. And I will be the moderator for today's panel discussion on the impact of COVID-19 sector and the road ahead. So as we all know that the entire world is facing the largest economic disruption due to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, India has not been untouched from the heat as well. So the coronavirus has had a huge impact on daily life from the man on the street to the businesses, and the food processing sector, even more essential than ever, has not been untouched again. However, being a very dynamic and diverse, the food processing sector also offers several opportunities in these challenging times. So Team AgroVision is working relentlessly to support the industry. Keeping this in view, this webinar will highlight a perspective on the evolving situation, understanding the current issues of food processing sector and the way forward. So to start, I have Mr. Ravi Puratkar, President AgroVision Foundation and publisher AgroSpectrum and New Food Spectrum magazine.
We have Dr. Mai also.
Dr. C.D. Mai, Chairman AgroVision Advisory Committee. And we have a distinguished panel which in a fundamental sense needs no introduction. So I'll be very brief, and without further ado, I would like to welcome our distinguished panelists. So we have with us today Dr. C. Anandharma Krishnan. He is a director, Indian Institute of Food Processing Technology. Dr. Raghav Rao, Director, Central Food Technological Research Institute. Dr. Subodh Jindal, President, All India Food Processors Association. Shri Nand Kishore Kagliwal, Chairman and Managing Director of Nath Group. Mr. Piruz Kambata, Chairman and Managing Director, Rasna Private Limited. And Mr. Anand Chaudhia, he is Director, Innovation and Technology. We welcome you, Dr. Mai. So I would like to request you for your opening remarks, please.
Okay. So welcome to all panelists, friends. Negatively influenced really by the current pandemic. The food processing industry is also suffering, and actually, like any other sectors, they are also expecting government to offer immediate relief. Now, Indian food industry, million people engaged in the working $800 billion worth business. So and this is one of the sectors which is growing very fast. But because of the immediately lockdown, I think there are several issues which have really cropped up. And one of the major issues that has started, and although government has declared 1.7 trillion rupees for all, how much actually it will all come. Although farmers are being supported very well in this. Now, what are the major challenges that are actually in the operations? One of them I find is the transport restrictions and also the raw material, which sometimes is not able to reach to this industry. So the industry and government, it needs to really work together. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us, even if we start after the pandemic breaking down. I think there are still more problems. And what the major recommendations, what I feel is that the food industry must function normally. If by easing, first thing is the interstate movement. There are at ground level, there are difficulties, which I think they can start. So my point is that this food processing industry, which is now coming up industries, I would say one of the very important sector, particularly for supporting agriculture, I feel that there will be a lot of things. So I expect the panelists to really discuss those issues.
I'll take my first question now. So thank you, Dr. Mai, for your opening remarks. So as we all know, that impact of COVID-19 crisis has been felt and seen across the sectors. While some categories might be up and running in no time, others might be left grappling and struggling to return to what they were in the pre-COVID area. So my question to Mr. Kagliwal, in this unprecedented scenario, where does the food processing sector stand today? And what will be the post-COVID scenario? I mean to say, do you see any more challenges or more opportunities coming in future?
Well, I do see both challenges and opportunities. I'll first talk about these mega food parks. Enormous capacity is created in the country. About 18 mega food parks are operational. But the fact remains that 14 of those were inaugurated or became operational in last 2 years. So they are still at nascent stage. The gestation period in these food parks is very, very high. And food parks have not been able to invite or attract large investments into the parks, because parks, as you know, are created for providing integrated facilities to the potential investors. Their existing capacities in terms of warehouses, cold storages, and some part of processing is operational. But frankly, there has not been much investment in the parks by potential investors. And that is obviously because of 3 reasons. One thing is this general climate or industrial climate prevailing in the country pre-COVID, and post-COVID, of course, it is accentuated. Second is this banking paralysis, if I can use that strong word. Banks have been totally negative in terms of financing, particularly MSMEs, and there has been an excessive obsession with security. That has dampened the total investment climate so far as food parks are concerned. But going forward, while there can be brakes on economy, the economy will continue to go through a stress. There are 2 basic things which would always be basic necessities for life. That is, one is food, another is pharma. And going forward, you will find more and more concentration on these 2 sectors, and that offers real challenges. In food, again, basics like grains, pulses, spices, fruits, vegetables, that would certainly continue to have demand. There may be some, I would say, when it comes to discretionary food, more particularly processed food, it can be possibly, the demand could be less. It would be more local. But this is the right opportunity for us to invite countries like Japan to invest in Indian food processing sector. Japan doesn't grow, hardly grows anything, and we have such huge capacities created in terms of food parks where they can come and set up their own units. This is a real possibility. Well, one more point I would like to make, Dr. Mai talked about it. Kharif season is upon us a few weeks from, let's say 6 weeks from now. The sowing should start 6 to 7 weeks from now. And it is important to ensure food security by ensuring that all inputs, including seeds, fertilizer, pesticides, are made available to the farmer in time. And for that, every possible effort has to be made at all levels. This would be the opening remarks, and let's take it further.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kardiwal, for your insights. Dr. Jindal, if you can hear me, what are your views on the same? Since you also represent an association, so where do you see this food processing sector stand today?
A very good morning, learned speakers and guests. You see, I come from the food processing sector. I represent All India Food Processors Association, and I see a few of the processing people on the panel today, including Mr. Anand Chaudia. Now, the point is that all that the learned speakers have said are very valid points, but some of these points are more relevant post-COVID. You know, food parks and banks and, you know, foreign investment, Japanese and all that are very, very valid points, but mostly applicable after we go down the curve, right? Now, let's break the discussion into 2 parts. One is present during COVID, and then we can have a detailed discussion what the industry need to do to revive and become economically strong after the COVID, right? Both have different parameters. Now, during the COVID, if we look at a lot of industrial units, processors have been in continuous interaction with the Ministry of Food Processing Industries and other ministries. And suggestions have been made and a lot of action has taken place. Not going into what actions or suggestions have been done, I will come straight to the difficulty at hand today. The first difficulty is that the worker is not available because the worker does not want to risk his life in such an infection. Secondly, A gentleman said on transport, yes, transport permits are not available or transport drivers are not available. Very sure for getting the raw material and finished products. The third problem is that the materials which I think are a big challenge today for the food sector is the perishable commodity. We are at the verge or at the immediate threshold of at least 10 fruit crops coming in the next 6 months. Okay, mango being one of them, papaya, pineapple, lychee, cherry, sapota, banana, and tomato as the main crops. I think all of us should apply our minds to see how these crops can be saved so that post-COVID we can make products out of them. Okay. Mr. Anand Chaudia and a number of other units are doing a lot of work to save the perishables. The way to go ahead appears to be, scientists and technologists are all thinking about it, is to adopt primary processing steps to cut and salt the fruits and vegetables, to dehydrate them, dry them in various mechanisms that we have, which are beginning from solar, vacuum, microwave, or the indoor heat pump systems. The third would be, which can be most helpful, is to immediately pulp the fruits available and pack it into intermediate big storages like aseptic or cans, or do IQF for them, or we can freeze the pulps. The point is that all of these fruits will have a certain season of a few days, and if we lose them, the processing industry loses, employment loses, farmer loses its revenue, exports take a big hit, and finally the consumer will not get products throughout the year. I have given some suggestions and we have discussed it with the Honorable Minister of Food Processing Industries in great detail in that. They are also taking steps for that. Now, the second thing, if I take another minute of the guests, is how to make these primary processing units to operate. Yes, give them the workers' passes, motivate the workers to come, give them the risk insurance, give them wages, and more than all these, give the units enough liquidity funds to procure the fruits and vegetables, to process, to make the pulps or concentrates and stock them, because the stocks will not be liquidated soon. So these are the big challenges. So if there are any suggestions, please convey and we will be happy to take them to the senior levels in the government. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Now I will, I think, ask this question to Mr. Anand Chaudia, if you're online. So what are your views on the same?
Now, first of all, thank you so much, Raviji, Dr. Mai, for inviting and planning this session. I think this was need of an hour, and seeing the kind of numbers logging in from all around India, that itself shows that this is a real burning issue for our nation. Good to see all honorable scientists here, Jindal sir, and everyone. We are right now in Pune, which is one of the high risk areas for the spread, and I have been constantly talking with Jindal sir, AIFPA, about how food processing industry really need to look into this, and with their help we are doing a lot of representations to ministry as well. Seasonal fruits, seasonal fruit vegetables and seasonal vegetables, definitely farmers or entire supply chain is making lot of disruptive losses in current situation. And yes, we need to tackle this situation in two different ways. There are certain risks which we carry out right now as industry, but along with this risk, there are some future opportunities for industries are getting emerged. Facing the risk boldly, facing the risk and trying all to de-risk ourselves in multiple ways by many suggestions made on many WhatsApp slides which are coming, or many directors of the banks who have suggested that how liquidity needs to be looked at right now, how to go in a conservation mode for industry to safeguard basic sustainability of the industry. There are some things I am observing is emerging as a trend for future. For example, through MCCIA in Pune, we recently concluded Pune International Summit, and we had all the officials of most of the countries and many industries, food industries coming from other countries. And for last 2 years, I have been trying to talk to them about they setting up their manufacturing units in India, or India as an important market to them, which not many of them were much interested in, or they were reluctant in some ways. But in last 2 to 3 weeks, I am actually seeing mails popping in from those companies, and they all are looking at India as a major processing or a selling hub, or as a market as well, which we always have dreamt of, and which is a true reality for our nation. In this particular scenario, I also realized that we really need to gear up strategically well for storages, for warehousing solutions, for freezing solutions or drying solutions. But the type of technology which is available is so vast, and many times by not adopting the right technology, the product quality becomes a little bit not up to the mark, or not to the global standards. That's where also a lot of work needs to be done. And this is the best time, and on this platform I can see research scientists here from CFTRI, IFPT, NIFTEM. Many people are here. I can see them online, and many industry people are here. These are the earlier identified shortcomings in our food industry ecosystem. This is a time we really need to integrate everything. What we did, as we processed some essential commodity, and we were allowed to initiate and start few manufacturing lines. We have started our mirchi, haldi, dhania production with a proper social distancing, with giving them proper masks. And also earlier we were reading and doing research about hypochlorite use for sanitizing or cleaning, using it on human skin, but it is very risky. So we need to come up with very standard, very safe SOP, which all food industries can implement in an appropriate way when the lockdown will be open. Also now many industries are operating, they should know how they should operate safely, not only from COVID, but by giving any other treatment to stop COVID should not hurt any human, or we should have integrated human safety and food safety intact. One bitter truth, but a ground reality, is there has been a very less awareness in our workforce, which comes from a contractual labor contract on hygiene or anything. But due to this COVID-19 issue, overall quality standards of food industry will raise. And I will urge and plead to all industry that we should capitalize this in a positive way to bring more high quality standards in food processing. Definitely there is a very big setback for food sector. I just want to share Mahabaleshwar area, Satara region in Maharashtra produces strawberries, and almost 100 tons of strawberry is thrown almost every day. This was the peak of their season and peak of strawberry processing. The stocks of last year in frozen chambers are still lying down because there is no market, as was mentioned by Jindal sir also, that the supply chain is stopped completely, and so industries were not able to buy any of the strawberry for processing. So farmers are making huge losses in certain areas. Although we urge to open up certain industries, but we all as industry also need to be very cautious that we don't spread the contagious disease, and we take utmost care to save our keep our people safe. Thank you so much. I'll stop here for my initial remarks.
Thank you, Anandji. I'll come back to you again for later for some more questions. So now, now may I request Dr. Raghav Raoji from CFTRI. Sir, for this sector to grow on an accelerated path, new entrepreneurs or companies shall require a strong R&D support, not only in terms of preservation, nutrition, but also in packaging and many in new products. So how are you planning to enhance your collaboration with private sector?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Vibhan. So COVID virus is not only the health virus, but I would say that it is economic virus. So it has caused really the supply chain disruptions at different levels, as everybody has told. And also the consumer behavior itself will not be the same again after this COVID. So food industry and R&D should gear up for this challenge. Private industry is very proactive. It is not just the profits and other things that is in the back of the mind. They are very concerned about giving the customer the appropriate products to meet the nutritional needs at affordable cost. It is heartening to see this. In this endeavor, they are very proactive. Several products we have prepared. Already we have arranged distribution in different places, and some more we will be taking care. Then, as you know, in the earlier disaster management efforts also, CFTR has produced and supplied food items like situations like tsunami and recent cyclone. So COVID is a different situation. The problem is even for the production at our PAL plants, it is very difficult because of the social distancing and other lockdown regulations. So staple food is being supplied by many NGOs. So we thought it is appropriate or prudent to supply supplements with improved nutrition. So with this in mind, we have given high protein biscuits, high protein rusk, spirulina, incorporated chicky, fortified banana fruit bar, mango bar, flavored waters with flavors like cardamom, cinnamon, pan, etc. So about 15 to 20 tons already produced and distributed different parts of the country, and other places also we are going. And especially AIMS have appreciated our effort. They found that the patients are very much getting the benefit of it. Many industries approaching on their own that they want to pitch in, and they want to even bear the share the cost of producing. So industry is really relishing this activity, and response is very encouraging. Many more similar products we want to introduce and co-produce along with the industry. Newer areas, as you said, we have to interact with the industry and to look for the newer areas for newer products. Mandya, Mysore district, Chamraj, Shimoga, different places, they are asking for different kinds of help. Some of the expert has mentioned about the raw material. Yes, pineapple at the moment they are producing about 500 tons per day. Only consumption is about 200 tons, so 300 excess is there. They want to look for the value-added products. And also Spirulina Foundation, they want to join us hands with to produce more Spirulina-based products. And also the mango is around the corner. Lakhs and lakhs of tons of mango will be in the market, so we have to gear up for the situation. And somebody has mentioned hypochlorite solution for the spray. It has some ICMR also raised some issues. World over, there is a concern about it. So CFTRI is looking at alternatives, so which are much safer. Initial trials have given the good results. We have submitted for, we are looking for the clearance by certifying agencies like pollution boards and ICMR, so that it can take it to the market. So this is my opening remarks. Anyway, I can pitch in when a relevant point has come again. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for your useful insights. I'm sure a lot of people will gain, knowledge of, whatever suggestions that you've made. So my next question is to Mr. Dr. Anand Ramakrishnan from IFPT. So what initiatives or actions have been taken by IFPT in the wake of COVID-19 for the food processing sector? And what are the future plans?
Sir, thank you so much Viva, for inviting me. Actually, that panel discussion starts very well about that problem of raw material movement and transport, driver issues, all that in between the states, gates, all the things has been taken care by Ministry of Food Processing Industry, and it is opened 24/7 helpline and grievances cell. And if you send any of that grievances, you faced any of the processing lines and supply chain, that most of the grievances sorted out immediately, and that 24/7 Ministry of Food Processing is working. And if still you face any of this, because most of the food processing commodities are comes under essential commodities, so almost every commodities have come into that. That's what Home Ministry and Ministry of Food Processing continuously we are giving the list, and that some of the issues that definitely we can sort it out through this channel. And second thing, Jindal sir told a wonderful thing about the primary processing. Yes, sir, that is the important point you raised. And we need to do that lot into that. For example, if you look at Trichy district alone, banana, more than 2 tons last 2 days is wasted. And it's a huge for the farmers invested so much, and we are unable to move out from that raw banana to other. And even we suggested to convert into the dried, but we don't have the enough capacity of solar dryers in that place. Very few people has the solar dryers, and we need a other type of dryers to convert into the dried form. And really, that is the one area, and everybody has to look wherever you have the raw material purchasing and supply chain and other things. And if you look at the dehydrated fruits, almost 210 million tons US is importing from China. If you convert this point of time, we can do that later stage, we can export it. And even fruits, $800 of amount of fruits, dried fruits has been imported to US, and we can see that type of avenue how to go ahead. And regarding our comment about our Anand, really he is telling about a good thing about safety. And in India, if you look at almost 11.3% of workforce is in the food processing sector, organized sector. And safety of these people and safety of the food product, both are most important. And second thing, most of our units, all the equipments are stainless steel. This virus stays in stainless steel more than 3 days. And copper, it stays only 3 hours. In 3 days, it stays in stainless steel. It's a big concern. And this safety we need to take it. That's what USFDA already has given a lot of guideline how to operate inside the food processing machineries and all the things, and monitoring this workforce inside that. That is the big challenge for us. So we need to see that we have to put a proper safety officer to look, and the safety, most of the time the safety issues comes in the later stage packaging. There only manhandling is there, packaging and final finished product where it is going. There we need a continuous monitoring and maybe CCD camera. We have to watch each and every contact where it is coming, and that database we need to generate, and that should be there with us to see that how best we can do that. Why I'm emphasizing is because one issue in one factory, one product comes out, whole food processing sector will face the huge problem. So we need to operate our industry close by biotechnology industry or pharma industry level of safety issues. So this is the right now we are facing when you are opening the industry. So how to go ahead with the safety protocol inside the industries. So that we have to take care. It's a good point Anand has brought into that. Again, Anand told about the technology things. Yes, that is the important. This is the point what I said. Banana is lying there. We need a technology. We have the technology, but how to implement and present scenario is another one. And even IFPT is open day 1 to now. IFPT is totally open, and all the scientists are working in our institute. And almost every day, morning to evening 8, we are working. We are helping the small and medium entrepreneurs. Even our testing lab continuously running, and we are testing the samples. And yes, Dr. Raghuram sir has said CFTRI has supplied the material good products to the people, and IFPT also started immune boosting product, bread, biscuit, rusk, and high amount of the protein. We added the as per the Ayush suggested, like our own turmeric, ginger, garlic, all added, and we are continuously supplying to the patients. And again, we come to the our Raghuram sir point out one thing about consumer preference definitely will change now, because we are in the shock almost 2 months, and if you go and open and how people will preference about the food product. For example, if you take meat itself, already in China and Hong Kong last 2 months, because like highest amount of the meat consumed in these two, mainly China, it is going down day by day, and people are suspicious about this meat product. So how to go ahead? And already we know that substitute to meat and synthetic meat and homegrown meat or in vitro meat, these are the areas we need to put in, and definitely we have the good scope for future when people looking alternative to meat and alternative to protein source, and we have the plant and lot of plant source available. For example, jackfruit, we can use it and we can make it as the alternative this one, because already that huge market 5.96 billion in 2022 expected in the meat substitutes in the US alone, and in vitro meat business is growing 8% every year. So these are the some area. Apart from that, we need to think which are the product immediately is going to take that. One is the immune boosting product. Definitely, whatever the trademark is coming, this product as the immune booster, definitely that will play the major role in the market. And second one is high salt. If you increase the salt content, it is the reduces your immune system and body. Two articles, both is very clearly demonstrated more than 6 gram per body weight increases the salt and adversely affect on our immune system. So such a scenario, we have the product with a high salt content. So such product may face some issues in the coming months, because consumer preference is changing. That mindset, how we are coping up when the once lockdown is over, because we know that this is the very temporary things. Once our supply shock or demand shock will be go off, then how to cope up with that? So we need to have a very clear plan, especially for MSME and other small sectors. They are not much export is taking place. So this period they can see that how they can get it clearance from the either professional audit or the ethical audit clearance, and such type of thing they need some support. And definitely APIDA already they're willing to do that, and IFPT and Ministry of Food Processing and CFTR, all we can support all small industries how to get through this, and we can push our export market as well, because most of the, as per last meeting, APIDA people are telling about lot of inquiries comes from the Singapore and Southeast Asian countries for the import from the India. So we need to gear up for that. During this period, we have to work out what are the regulations, what are the things we have to do for, especially for what I said, the auditing purpose and ethical clearance purpose and all the things. We need to do that. And this is the very temporary things, but we need to cautious about our safety of product, because only if you look at last almost 40 days, supply chain, everybody is getting all the things, even panic purchasing takes place, and RT level FMG goods almost is gone to 50 to 150% higher in the demand, but still
Correct.
our companies are producing the huge, and I think we can do it better in the coming months. So we need to take one thing main is the safety issues we have to take care when production line is starting full-fledged, but still we can't lose the tempo in every point of the processing line, including the usage of the water. We need to test in each and every point and finished product, and our retailing market also is expanding. So we need to see that each and every checkpoint, what is happening and how our food is delivered safely our people. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, sir, for the wonderful
Yes,
insights. I'm sure a lot of people must have got encouragement.
Yeah, ma'am,
Now I can see
I
yes,
just
sir.
want to come in for a minute. Very
Sure,
well
sir.
taken by Dr. Ananta Ramakrishnan.
Ji.
Dr. Raghavendra Roy is here. I will request that the research institutions all get together and immediately we work to save the perishables. Whichever way we can, so many suggestions have come around the table just now. But we have to work together with the industry and research institutions to first help the farmer to save the crops in these 2 months at least. Let us please, go ahead to have a combined working for that. Thank you.
Can we think in terms of a policy intervention to provide for solar dryers in every village?
So maybe we'll come to these suggestions at the end of the session. I'll come to all of you. Yeah,
please.
Okay. So I believe now Mr. Piruz Khambata has joined in. Mr. Khambata, welcome. Can you hear us? Mr. Khambata, can you hear us? Mr. Khambata? Okay, I think we've lost him again. So thank you, sir. Thank you for such useful remarks. And I'm sure your suggestions will be taken by IFPT and CFTRI. And surely we'll be discussing the same at the end of the session. And unfortunately, Shri Sudhir Garg, Joint Secretary, also could not join due to some technical issues. So Dr. Jindal, I'll come to you again. Since you're also part of this association, IFPA, so I would like to know, are there any recommendations given by IFPA to the government to pull out industry from the current situation? Can you just briefly tell us about the top 4 or top 5 such recommendations given to the ministry?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. AFPA has been regularly in touch with the government, particularly Ministry of Food Processing Industries, and the Honorable Minister has been very kind to take initiative to hold interactions on video conferences, and we've made written submissions also. The immediate concerns which have been identified are, A, as I said, how to help the farmers to save the perishables, convert them into some kind of a sustainable intermediate which can be kept on for the later months. B is how to maintain the supply chain of the essential foods. We can identify the essential food. The government has also done it, and we should try that each unit which produces an essential on which we sustain and survive, that should be encouraged and supported. The third issue we have recommended is that all workers and employees of the food processing sector and the post-harvest technology people, they should be given monetary support either by a wage package by the government and the industry and corporate sector also helping in some way. Okay. The fourth thing is that the lot of investment issues are there, because if the units which are not operating, they already have their cash held up, payments are not coming from their customers, and also now they have to procure materials and they have to stock. Stocks will not be sold very soon. So which means there is an upfront burden of investment. So we have requested the government that each food processing unit should be given a minimum loan at a very low interest rate of 2% without a collateral security, which can be measured on a certain percentage of 25 to 50% of the average 3 years turnover of the unit. So these are, and the next thing is that the backward supply line, that is packaging material particularly, which may be aseptic bags, tin cans, jars, or cartons, or any other inputs and ingredients, should be allowed to be manufactured, and they should not be considered as non-essentials and stopped. These are the inputs which have been discussed in detail, and the ministry is very much aware, and they have been forwarded to the Prime Minister's office and to the Finance Minister and also Home Ministry, and actions are going on. Though we feel that time has passed, is being taken, and probably immediate action is required, which will come. So these are the discussions and interactions which have happened so far. please.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing the recommendations given to the government, and I'm sure they will, react on those and then come out with some, suitable, what you can say, remedies for all the people who are suffering at this point of time. So I believe Dr. Raghav Rao has one point to make. He has his raised hand. Sir, Dr. Rao, Raghav Rao.
Yeah, yes, please. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. I just want to respond to Jindalji's suggestion or remark. So as he rightly said, yes, research institute should be working in collaboration with industry, and already several of the people who are there on the today's panel already working with us. I did not take the names. For example, Anandji has already given his consent to work with us. Rajesh Mache was in touch with him. So like that, several of the panel members themselves already doing, and many more will join soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can I take 1 minute?
Can I just come back to you, sir? Mr. Khambata has again joined in.
Yes,
so
yes,
I don't know
certainly.
Yeah. So, Mr. Khambata, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Welcome you for this panel discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah, sir, as you're part of the food processing industry, you must be facing quite a few challenges, and I'm sure you will reverberate the same sentiments. However, keeping the current scenario in mind, we would like to know how you're coping with the current challenges. Please share some, encouraging points with our participants. Mr. Khambata?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you, yes.
Yeah. I think we are lucky that we are members of All India Food Association, giving all.
Your voice is not audible.
Mr. Khambata, your voice is not clear. Could you please check your mic again?
Better. And
Mr. Khambata?
my voice and
Yes.
my mic is okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's okay. We can hear you.
So we have been. So I think first I support the government and the stance on a complete lockdown. It was the right thing to do. And now obviously a calibrated movement towards, let us say, working also is a very good thing to do. And I definitely believe industry is also going to come forward and ensure that our factories are having all the SOPs. We are following the safe distancing norms. We are having sanitizers and whatever masks, PPEs, whatever is required. And almost industries which are in rural areas and in industrial areas, industrial zones designated by the government, except the red zones, my belief is we are already opening up. My plants are also, the export plant in fact started much before this lockdown, because export was earlier also allowed, and now most of my plants are also getting started up. There was some confusion earlier that all food is essential or not, but thanks to a lot of work, the Ministry of Food Processing and the Home Ministry also gave a clarification. So that has been done. I think the major problems right now, if you ask me, are one with the passes, because a lot of people are not able to get the e-passes. So I think there has to be something where at least the people who are in the essential commodity supply chain and distribution are given passes, because otherwise the godowns cannot open. For example, 2-3 of my warehouses, they are allowed to be open. The warehouses are open, but the staff cannot reach it. So I think that is a challenge which we are right now trying to solve. And I think the major thing, the MSME secretary is here. The major challenge is liquidity today, and the whole liquidity markets are going to are collapsed. So, and we are told that we have to pay salaries. Obviously, we have to pay salaries, but none of our buyers are giving us the money. No banks are giving us the money. So where do the salary comes from? So I think a lot of countries like Singapore and UK and USA, they have a paycheck scheme. You give money to the banks, but if the banks don't give to MSMEs, you can ask any MSME on the panel, then it is of no use. So my suggestion right from day one, which is pending, and I honestly believe that the MSc department should really take this up very strongly. In simple 2 minutes, I will explain. You give money to a bank. He wants to check I am okay or not, gives me money. In the meanwhile, the rate interest goes up. He wants a collateral which I can't give. Even if I have, I can't give in a lockdown situation. The better thing is that people who are registered with ESI and PF, and the government has the data, let them give them directly the paycheck. as direct receipt from the government, and we can then look at that amount being coming from the company as a soft loan or something. But we will need immediately a paycheck protection plan where the government straight away takes our paycheck, if not fully, at least partly, for employees which are below a certain what I call CTC. For example, employees below 10 lakhs should be all part of this. This is my suggestion number one. Second, PF, they've announced that only 15,000, up to 15,000, they will give the PF part. Now, I think it is wrong for the simple reason that earlier PF used to be only on basic. A lot of panelists would know here that the Supreme Court gave a judgment, and now Provident Fund is on the gross amount almost, except a few deductions like HRA and all that. Yeah. Now, on a gross amount, 15,000 is too small an amount. So obviously, very small industries are getting covered and very small people. So the PPF announcement also, the 15,000 has to be made to something like 25,000, and there is a cap of 100 employees. The 100 employees is very small. MSMEs have 300 and 400. So this 100 employees should be made 1,000 employees. This is my second sort of request, which probably the MSME ministry can really further. Third request is all pertaining to GST. Surprisingly, everybody has made announcements, surprisingly, but on GST front, there has been no announcement other than some return late filing and things like that, which are procedural in nature. I believe that if you really want to revive the economy, you will have to ensure that the GST is at least for some time, if not all the time, reduced. And second, a lot of us sitting here have input credit. Like I have got input credit, which I am not able to utilize, probably lying off a few crores. You give me my money back. You give me my input credit back so that I can use that money for my liquidity. Because I'm not able to use it. It is lying on my input credit account for thing. It is like a check which I'm not able to realize. So at least allow me my input credit. Other idea can be that GST department can give soft loans. When the time was good, the GST people collected a lot of tax from me. Times are bad. Let them give me soft loans. Some way GST people have to come and help us. And the GST council should, in my mind, meet on probably a video call like this. And some resolutions on the GST front definitely are expected. So paycheck, GST, PF, and now coming to the going forward. Now the question probably is that after lockdown, what? Now my view on this, which I'm giving almost a lot of people, is don't expect anything to open tomorrow because it is not possible. Nowhere in the world it is happening. Even if they are opened up, they have to close. Because I think if they open up, there will be a lakh cases in a day and you'll have to close the next day. Only way out is a gradual opening, which the government is aware and the government is doing. Now we have to support the government in this gradual opening, and we will have to work with this new norm. So the economy will slowly start moving, but I don't expect any immediate movement. But the silver lining in the cloud, which I see here, is because we have been in touch with various ministries and they are also working plans, that after this episode,
yeah,
we lost him. Lost
breakage of I'm not saying in China or something, but 90% of your produce from China, you want to move to India. So I believe a lot of manufacturing from India will get a boost. My personal belief is, and people will look at India as a destination to make their products under their brand or under our brand. I believe Indian MSMEs can really, at this time in COVID, take this challenge and ensure that we get ready for this movement of manufacturing for the world. We have missed the bus of being a manufacturing destination for the world. Of course, in services sector, we have done a good job. We do make software for the world, but we don't manufacture the world. In fact, we buy from the world. Even a simple item like a toy we buy. Or even I'm surprised, I see tomato paste coming from some China where India has so many tomatoes, or frozen chips coming from abroad, surprisingly. So I really don't know why we should get any of this, because we are much cheaper. So I believe we have been working with the government on tomatoes, especially oranges in particular. I have always said, because Nagpur is an orange belt, but Nagpur is not known for orange. It is known for Santara. It is known for Mosambi. Why can't we market our Mosambi, Santara, our Nimbu abroad? Oranges, we will never be able to take a market share from Brazil. But if we are able to make these fruits into, let us say, big fruits, we can say Indian Santara is so good. So we are working with the government and all this. And I believe this is the silver lining, that if we position ourselves well, if we do our homework, if we have good capacities, we can manufacture for the world. This is another big opportunity which I see. And the last point I would like to say is, I think people will have to agree that healthcare workers need to be protected. Police people need to be protected. Similarly, food processing workers are also doing an essential job. When a guy who wakes up and goes to his factory to ensure that the mango crop doesn't say, let us say, rot, and he processes it, or he processes food. Today, don't forget, we are all eating, and we are lucky that food security is there. And who has made the food security? It is the processor's employee. So he is also an important man as much as a healthcare worker. Let us respect him. He is also, at the cost of his life, is doing a human service, the food processing industry and the food processing worker for the country at this time, because food security is important. More people will die of hunger and starvation and malnutrition than COVID if the food industry and the agriculture sector would not have reacted in the way they have reacted for COVID. This is my last point, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khambhata. So my next question is: have you had any chance to interact with the government regarding these suggestions that you are making right now?
I am interacting right from day one. By my presentation about the changes required in the sector and the stimulus required went on the day the Modi Sahab announced the lockout, the same day.
Okay. So is there any luck in this sector?
Yeah, lot of luck. I think I already praised the government. The government accept the points I have said. They have come out with, like, let us say, RBI has brought a lot of liquidity to the banks. I already said that PF announcement has been made. Ease of doing business has been announced. A lot of things are today on soft copy. There were a lot of problems in exports which the government has solved. Essential goods were allowed right from day one. There was a problem that food processing had an issue was that they thought we are not part of the essential. Then they gave a clarification. I don't think you can get such a proactive government. To the heads off to the government, most of the secretaries have been working at the cost of their sort of health, whatnot, and the notifications, clarifications are coming. They are available, they are accessible, and they are coming out on telephones, emails, and I think they have done a lot to ensure that the industry. Of course, see, this is such a big catastrophe that nobody can help fully, but at least partly the government has come about, and I have seen a lot of announcements come in to help people. Like, let us say, even the CSR Act has been changed, so you can spend CSR money on COVID, and custom regulations have been changed. So I have seen a lot of good work from the government at all levels happening, very positive steps being taken. Industry also has come forward. Industries, like, for example, making ventilators. I have started making sanitizers. I have given the first lot of free sanitizers to the healthcare workers and police people. The sanitizer license earlier used to take 2 months, 3 months. 1 week they are giving. Ethanol was not allowed in Gujarat for food processing because, of course, Gujarat is a prohibition state. How can they allow ethanol? They allowed that also. Okay, use ethanol. So I think the government is very proactive. They have helped a lot in ease of doing business, and they have realized here that ultimately you have to fight this war. It can't be only at one end. I just said now, food processing and agriculture industry has to be a big warrior in this fight. People can't, because this may go on for 6 months. In 6 months, if food processing and agro doesn't work, what will people eat? So I believe our industry is sitting here, all the people sitting here, we have a big job, and don't forget, imagine that we don't process. So much of this crop will go waste. 1,000 crores, 30,000 crores is going waste. Imagine what will happen to the farmer. If the mango processor is not going to process his mango, whom will the farmer sell? Because say X amount of percentage goes for processing, and the farmer will then come out on the streets. So I somehow believe that agri and food processing is as important as hospital in this arena, and we should allow it to work. And it's a great thing that the employees and the sector is working in this national interest, I would say, in this time. That's what I just now said. And I once again say the government has done a lot of things for, if you want to give me some specific questions, I can. I have a presentation also, which I made some the other day, that what are the benefits in various sectors government has given in terms of relaxations, ease of doing business in particular in the last 1 month.
Maybe we can share that presentation with us. We can, then we'll be able to share it with our participants who would like to.
Can I just have one question to him?
Yes, sir. Yes, Dr. Mai, please go ahead.
Yeah. I think he has spoken very well, because he has said that government is. Now we are looking that there are lots of chances of the industries which are in China to be shifted now. India has a lot of scope to come. But can government think of really developing some rural infrastructure, particularly for the food processing industry? Because I find that it is better to be located in the rural areas. And I think that is most important part if we can really have good infrastructure developed. Because this COVID has really taught us lots of things. So one of the things is that the rural infrastructure can be really strengthened so that people can go deep into the rural areas to start those industries.
I fully appreciate, and actually I couldn't say exactly because I'm part of a high-level committee which is probably with some minister, and we had 3-4 rounds. And you exactly picked my words. What I said is that for rural, please treat infrastructure investment in rural areas as viability gap funding.
Yeah.
When you make a airport in Guwahati or Arunachal Pradesh, you come and say government will support because obviously a project in Arunachal Pradesh airport cannot survive. Any investor will lose money. So you want to give viability gap funding. Then why not to, let us say, a cold chain, pack house in a given area? Now, without a proper pack house, cold chain, and the full infrastructure, we cannot. Now, on this, I openly said this earlier. I'm openly saying, you may want it a controversial thing I'm saying. Government allowed FDI in e-commerce. They didn't allow in brick and mortar stores. What did the e-commerce FDI people do? I won't say the brands. They started selling the products. What is the benefit the company got? Nothing. The small petty shop owner, he is now getting replaced by e-com fellow who is going to give money at home.
Yeah.
The thing they what should have announced is if e-com people want to get into food processing or food products with 100% FDI, they should minimum spend 100 crores in a rural area. They should have linked it with the rural infrastructure. Where is the money coming in the rural? Private sector is not putting it. They are only getting into the retail part of it. They are not getting into the same for the multinationals into the rural. So I believe that all the schemes of the government on retail, especially, they should ensure that there is a infrastructure investment by the investor. There is no point of only setting up retail shops in urban areas without putting the necessary infrastructure in rural areas. And all people who are involved in food, agriculture in the rural area should be given all benefits of infrastructure. And if you give me time, Viva, I can tell you what we have been asking, but there are not one point, there are 15 points which I said we need, right from a small point. There should be electric duty on cold storage. Why should electricity duty be so high on a cold storage? If agriculture can have electric duty at 2 rupees, if you have a cold storage and if you are freezing the potatoes, why at a higher stage? Why should interest cost be so high? So there are a lot of such issues which have been mapped out and given to the government that these are the issues to be done. But let me tell you, the big problem in this is partly it is a state subject, partly central subject. Now a simple thing, the industry wants that contract farming should be made into a proper act. And none of the states, they are still struggling. A lot of announcements have been done, but we don't have a proper contract act yet. So there are so many such things which I believe the government can do post-COVID to really boost infrastructure and investment in the rural areas.
Correct. Very nice. Excellent.
Thank you very much, sir. So like you were talking about the presentation, so a lot of people have started writing to us asking for that presentation. If you could share that with us, then we'll be happy to share it with our
participants. There is some proprietary presentation, so I will share. I will share.
Okay.
I will share with you. I will share with you a note which, in fact, I have written.
Yeah.
Which is published also somewhere. I will share with you a published literature.
Sure, that would be helpful.
So I had to leave. There is a local deputy commissioner has come regarding a testing center. So I had to leave the meeting. I will be in touch. I'll get whatever the outcome of this meeting. I'll be always, please count on me for any participation or any association.
Thank you, Dr. Raghav. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you, sir. So, we also have Mr. Ravi Baratkar, who's also a president of AgroVision Foundation. And he's also from Nagpur, since you were also talking about oranges, Santara. So I would also like to request Mr. Ravi Baratkar if he has anything to say anything, on this particular topic.
What you said is very important. We need to develop this. Nagpur oranges are the typical problem. I think Mr. Kambata knows it. The juice cannot be preserved well for a longer time. It's good as a table fruit only. But we can also grow sweet lime and citrus. So we need to work on that. Even though we have a research institute in Nagpur, but I think still there's a long way to go. So yes, it's not only about these 2-3 fruits, but it's about many other fruits which are grown in India. As he rightly talked about the tomatoes also. So there is a need that we further accelerate our processing capabilities, or maybe the drying and preservation capabilities in India. And for that, I think that technology interventions should be facilitated more by CFTRI and also.
It's a link break, I think.
I think your link, yeah.
Yeah.
We have lost him. Mr. Baratkar, are you there?
Can I answer him? Can I answer him in the meanwhile?
Yes, please.
He's absolutely right. For all fruits in India and vegetables, many, getting the right processable variety is the most important thing.
Exactly.
In fact, in oranges, if you have a processable variety, you can get 40% more yield in terms of the juice and the pectin and whatever, XYZ, ABC. Now, imagine if 40% is less yield, you can never be what you call remunerative. So I somehow always believe that we have to inculcate don't forget one thing, the farmer who will be taught to put this variety. I think we industry will have to tell him. The farmer on his own will never like to make a processable variety, because if he makes a processable variety, they don't go in fresh. So the only answer to this is we have a proper corporate farming, cooperative farming, or contract farming, whatever word you call it. We need an arrangement where a processor goes to a farmer and says, here is the type of seed, I am giving you the following help, I'll give you some finance also, I will ensure that I put my agro scientist on your job, you make this crop for me, I will buy a certain price, and all this is backed by a legal agreement where the government is a guarantor, so that the farmer also feels happy. We need a proper job. Second, 25 to 30% of the farm we need to own, because world over, if you see any of the big food processing companies, if I'm saying own the farm, I'm not saying own the land on the farm. That is a different topic. Let the farmer own the land. But I need to get a big lease. So I have my captive farm where I can do some what I call testing also. And if the market is sort of bad, at least I can ensure that 25% production at my price I have got. So we need to work on a culture of a thing where the processor and the farmer works together, and the processors also get to have plantations. This has been my always say.
Right, sir.
Mr. Khambata, one thing I would like to add is very important, because our breeding strategy in agriculture has now changed. It was originally only for yield purposes, but now it is very interesting that we are all looking for quality and processable fruits and vegetables. I think this will give results in a period of 2 or 3 years, that we will not be bothered whether yield is high. It is only those which are processable product will come out. And that's why the breeding strategy of nation has now been shifted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mai. Since we are running out of time, so I could use some time for question and answers. So Kusum, do you have 1 or 2 questions from the audiences? So I believe she sent me a name.
Viva, as I said, I would like to hear from Mr. Kagliwal, because this is a very interesting topic, and he is into all the fields. He is the major producer of the input like seeds also, and he is having the food park also. So Dr. Kagliwal, your views, please.
Well, I would say, it's been a very interesting and useful interaction. The best I can do is to summarize what has been said so far. Yeah. I think the present challenges are very well articulated by Mr. Khambata and everyone else. The present challenge is that we open at least the feeding channels. The transport logistics is important. The labor continues to be a challenge, and liquidity, certainly yes. Mr. Khambata did say that government has provided, RBI has provided banks with a lot of liquidity, but certainly it has not percolated. Even SBI, even before RBI governor's announcement, said that all existing limits would be announced by 10%. And that is without documentation they would be releasing. But the fact remains that it has really not happened on the ground. They are insisting on documentation, and there is nobody there to do the documentation. I think easing of liquidity is very, very important. There is one very interesting and important point made by Mr. Khambata, which I totally support. There is so much of GST input credit lying with GST, and there is no reason why they should be holding it. They should simply refund it. It could be a soft loan carrying some interest, but all the same, it would go a long way. Gradual opening is a must if we really have to avoid the challenges on food security. I totally agree that hunger, starvation, malnutrition could be as big a challenge as the pandemic of today. We have to remain viable, and certainly we have to create an environment where a lot of foreign investment can come into India. We become a very vibrant manufacturing place, replacing China as the factory of the world. That can certainly happen. But there has to be a think tank, there has to be a task force which lays down very clearly the roadmap for attracting investment at this very opportune time. That's what I gather. This has been a great learning experience for me to be participating in this interaction.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kavlipal. Wonderful points made as usual. Like I said, we are running out of time. I would like to take one or two questions here. So, Dr. Gulshan Kumar, could you please introduce yourself and share your question with us? Can you please unmute Dr. Gulshan Kumar?
Yeah, indeed, it's such a great pleasure, to be a part of this particular forum. And my shift is totally from tourism, hospitality, airlines, and the entertainment industry with 30 million non-resident Indians today for the first time when I'm watching the food processing part. And I totally agree that the food processing, agriculture is equally important as the health sector. And the Piruz Kambata Sahab, what he made a mention, when I heard that point in 1994 when we brought Punjabi Parvasi Divas to India, and thereafter 2003 when we were associated with the Bharatiya Parvasi Divas with then the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Vajpayee. Today, after hearing these deliberations, totally convinced that the future, and because Monday morning, 11 o'clock, we are making a presentation to Ministry of MSME. Focus and one of the priorities is going to be Vibhaji onto food processing and agriculture sector related to service industry.
Right. So your question, you have any question? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for your inputs. Kusum, may I now request you to unmute Mr. Shiva Holka? Mr. Holka, what's your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Holka? Mr. Shiva Holkar? I think
we're not able to hear him.
Okay. And then Mr. Chakradhar, are you online? Can you hear us? Kusum, can you unmute Mr. Chakradhar?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Yeah.
Mr. Chakradhar, you have a question, I believe. Could you please introduce yourself and ask us the question?
Yeah, I'm basically a startup entrepreneur, and we are into agri-tech business in sensors.
Okay.
So my question was to Anand sir, because this is a situation where micro industries, nobody is talking about macro industries. Basically, we are come under not just small also, we come under micro industries. So what is the situation after post-COVID? Is there any hope for macro industries in agri sector, or we should wait for some time, or is there any help or something related from government or any industry? Because as we know, there is a huge problem in agri industry. We don't know what duration it will take to come back to the same situation. But we need some suggestions.
Georgia, would you like to answer that?
Yes, and also to few previous deliberations done on the farming side as well. First thing I want to share is points discussed were also about the raw material varieties and right processable varieties and how the whole idea of corporate farming should come in. And the irony is always agricultural ministry and food ministry wants to work on two different agendas. And almost all my sharings, I share that these two ministries needs to come together at some point of time to really discuss and work on the right genome studies to bring the right varieties which are processable as well and useful for more yields. The very reason people have been importing these paste and other things from China because they were cheaper and the yields from the tomatoes which are received in India are lesser. So the feasibility and costs are more higher. So there is a lot of work we really need to do on that front. Second thing, as there are many research institutes here, I'm coming to the question asked at stage 3. I really urge that Ayush Ministry came up. I had a close discussion meeting with Piyush Goyal Saab and Naik Saab on Ayush. they came up with lot of clarity for Ayush industries, SOPs and other detailed meeting. And a recent minutes of meeting also has, if there is any COVID positive patient also found in industry or in a working worker or a staff member, how should be a protocol to be addressed, because that also can happen to industry which is food industry and which has started their operations. But there needs to have these protocols also in place. Simply starting industry, starting business may not solve all the problems, but when we start, we are also carrying lot of risks. Almost 6 plants of mine are working right now, but parallelly we carry lot of risk at the same time of managing safety of our people. And that is also, I urge a lot to these research institutes and AIFPA to come up with some policy from ministry side and have an interaction like this. Ravi ji, I also encourage if we can also have interaction like this with the ministry also. We will like to give these clear issues that may come after the gradual opening up of the industries. Secondly, for startup, yes, there is a lot of potential I foresee now. First, you being a startup, you are still at low risk if you have not burnt too much of capital, and that is where you are still safeguarded. There is a lot of newness to business which will come in future. This whole industrial revolution 4.0 will play a major role in future to come up with the new models of working in food industry. As I shared earlier, I foresee lot of foreign investments now coming in India, and I'm actually seeing it the way industries have already approached us in last 3 to 4 weeks at MCCIA. And I foresee that they want to start their manufacturing and also distribution in India, as this market and this place has lot of potential to process and sell both. So there are a lot of opportunities for startups, and I'm very sure with some interactions happening at government level, I'm very sure that government will come up with more interesting packages for startups in times to come. Just an example, a lot of work in quality assurance, quality control, food safety will grow now, and startups working in that kind of area will have a lot of growth potential. Also, entire supply chain. I mentioned warehousing, cold storages, frozen food at rural level, at city level, both will grow. I want to stress on some point which was mentioned by Mai sir. Many cold storages which were set up in rural areas have larger rate of failures if the studies are done in the past years. And the setups which are near cities, near markets are more sustainable due to variety of material they are able to keep in the cold storages. So when we are really keen to empower rural areas, we will need to have a more complex and very proper strategy to make these investments going far more sustainable, as they are far away from the markets. But yes, they are equally required, that how we can empower the rural sector in a proper way. So for startups, I'm definitely saying there is a huge potential. If there is any particular question on any particular startup, I've shared my number and email ID, and we can definitely discuss on that. But to all the research institutes and other forums like CII and AIFPA, I really urge we merge agriculture along with food industry is basic. Because I have my own farms. I'm doing almost 100-acre organic farming, and I'm also doing processing for last more than 50 years. I see the real gap that where we both need to come together to really bridge this problem. And it's very complex. It's not only about genetics. It's not only about irrigation. It's not only about funds. It's not only about right processing technology. It's a complex situation, and it is very localized and a product specific. We'll need to come up with solutions like that.
Well, thank you for your suggestions. We all hope for the best, and we all hope that all the challenges that we are facing, we are able to convert those challenges into opportunities. So I'll have
Vivaji, today please make some minutes of meeting and circulate.
You will get the minutes. Yes, you will get the minutes, sir.
Hello.
So my last question.
Hello.
Yes, Dr.
Hello,
Jindal.
hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
just
Dr.
want
Jindal.
to add something very important point which was asked by Mr. Borotkar and answered in detail by Mr. Chodia. This is about the micro industries, small startups. You see, startups have a huge potential in India, particularly in the nutraceutical sector. You see, in India, we have so much regional varieties of spices, herbs, other nutraceutical plants, which have not been utilized very well so far by the larger industry. And they can be used to climatic and local requirements by combining in the forms which are provided in the Ayurvedic literature and is being promoted by Ayush.
Right, sir.
There are so many possible combinations. You know, you use honey, you use so many spices, all the ashwagandha or brahmi or shankh pushpi, you name them, they are immense in variety and nutrition and number. I will request the startups and micro units to focus on that, because even when they produce in small quantities, they will have value. The simpler pulping things and all the larger units can take care. Okay, so that's
Great, sir.
my
Thank you.
suggestion, and AFA is also working on that, and we
Okay.
are with the
Great.
government in suggesting them these options.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Sir. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Anand Ramakrishnan ji wants to say something. Sir, quickly in 2 minutes, if you can just sum up.
Yeah. Actually, I'll sum up what discussed now. One is the great suggestion is given by the primary processing emphasis. If you look at the whole population throughout the globe, the 1/3 of the population only getting the food product from only 100 kilometers. Remaining 2/3 of the population getting almost getting from the 1,000 kilometers. So this is the what we need to look, and this scenario clearly expose that situation. So we need to put lot of that cold storage, primary processing, storage condition, everything in the thing. That's what panel members are discussed. And somebody has raised the question in the chat. They are asking about the incubation center, IFPT and NIFTOM, all the incubation centers, including Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, all are open. People can access and they can use it. Any problem for technology input, if you want, you can send a mail to us. We are working in the institute. Definitely, we will support.
So we
And
will
finally,
be getting you all the relevant questions to the
yes,
respective
one more thing.
panelists from the
Somebody
chat
was
window.
telling about Amul model. Definitely, that will work. That's what we wanted to do it. And Jindal sir, what finally told about startups. If you look at 3D printing of the meat, one startup in the Silicon Valley, when they put it the stock, it stood up almost 160 times higher. So we need to go for such type of product, sonic enhanced food, DNA diet food, and alternative to salt, sugar, and nano foods, superfoods. These are the foods startups can clearly look after. That definitely has the huge market potential, and definitely you can come, because nutraceutical industry in India is growing more than 16%. Definitely that will help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
I'll
you.
take last question from Verdis Vatika Fresh. Please share your question. The last question. Verdis Vatika Fresh. Please introduce yourself and share your question. Kusum, if you can please unmute Verdis Vatika Fresh. VIRDIS. Verdis.
VIR. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please quickly ask your questions and introduce
Yes, ma'am.
yourself.
Yes. Yeah, this is MR Reddy from Bangalore. We are into export of fresh fruits and vegetables. My question is, prior to this endemic situation last year, many state governments were offering very good incentives and discounts and all that to set up food processing industries in their respective states. Now, if in this present situation, if I would like to start a small food processing industry, will these incentives and discounts are still available from state government?
Well, no
thank you for
scheme
your
is discontinued to our mind. I don't think any scheme is discontinued. All
Okay,
schemes
sir.
continue as of today.
No, because of the shortage of funds with the government and diversion of funds to COVID situation, will these incentives will still be available with Ministry of Food Processing Industries and also from various state governments for starting a new food processing unit?
Dr. Jinder, would you like to answer, since you are closely coordinating with the MOFPI? So do you have any information on this?
Yeah, you see, there are a number of schemes by the Ministry of Food Processing also and by the Ministry of MSME Industries also. We will have to look at which particular scheme will apply to this, requirement. It will not be maybe directly available, but there are so many options for the new products, innovations, different locations, farmer processor organizations working together, and lot of entrepreneurships. So I'm sure if they send us a write-up on what exactly they would like to have support and fit in, we will look at it and send
So Reddy,
them
if you
the
could
links.
send us your question in detail, you have our email address. We will try and respond to you on that. So I would like to now request Mr. Ravi Baratkar for his closing remarks. Since you're running out of time, we have to conclude this session now.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. And I think it was wonderful to have this elite panel here and hear about their views on very relevant and topics which everybody wanted to know, because we can see that from the number of participants registered, the enthusiasm in the minds of participants to know the views. And I will indeed thank Dr. Anand Ramakrishna for summing up, doing my job easy. He has already summed up, so I will not repeat that. But one good thing is that even in this stressed out period, what we can come out with is this industry still looks very positively. There is a lot of optimism, and yes, once this hiccups are over, I think we are looking forward to new opportunities. Be it in terms of adding on to our processing capability as people want to shift from other places. There's going to be the FDI, a lot of FDI in this sector, and also opportunities for the micro and even the startup companies. So overall, there is a good opportunity that India can also increase its exports in this field. So all in all, it looks well that if by using this as an opportunity, as Mr. Chordia also rightly pointed out, overall our hygiene standards in the food processing industry will be enhanced after this. So in all, the road ahead looks really positive. And I think the government has also given indications that they are willing to support, but what they're announcing should percolate, as is rightly brought out by a few panelists also. What schemes have been announced, they should be there on the ground level. And the sooner it happens, the earlier we can, this sector can get acceleration. So let's look forward with more optimism. And indeed, on behalf of the AgroVision Foundation and AgroSpectrum, I thank each one of you, and special thanks to Mr. Khambata for his optimistic remark, so as to Shri Nandkishore Agrawal, Shri Anand Chordia ji, and of course Dr. Subodh Jindal ji for expressing their industry views and their frank opinions and what needs to be done. And I also thank Dr. Anand Ramakrishna of IIFPT for being with us here and giving some good suggestions. And as he always said, and he has mentioned also, he's always available for any query, any information needed. He's working all round and is there to help each one of us. Dr. Raghav Rao has excused himself, but I also thank him for being with us and addressing us. And most importantly, I also thank each one of the participants who was with us to share this. And Vibha, thanks for moderating. And Dr. C.D. Mai, who's always guiding us for his opening remarks. So thank you so much. And let's look forward to more such interactions. And whatever some important suggestions are there, you can also send us. And maybe Vibha, we can compile and send it to the proper, the Ministry of Authority. If it can be, somebody can take cognizance of it.
Yeah, I would like to again, inform all of you that we will be compiling all the questions and will prepare a resource paper. Like Mr. Baratkar said, we will be surely, putting out all these recommendations to the relevant ministries, and we'll try and, reach back to you with all the, answers that you want from us. And I have already shared AgroVision email ID on the chat window. You can have a look at that and send us your questions there. And soon we will also be, uploading a resource paper on the same on the AgroVision website. So please stay tuned. Thank you, sir.